You have been saying it's your last season. Is this really your last season here?
Yeah, my business is taken off. It's now just it's too challenging to leave it. It's a scheduling thing. I'm very sad.
So let's start off. We have that elimination, but I wanted to ask about the whole Josh aspect of it because I feel like that did kind of overshadow it a little bit. I want to start off with what was your working relationship like with him? Because we've seen in the past that you guys have been at odds. So I wanted to know about this season.
Well, we've never. That's close to a correct statement, but what you said is we've always been at odds. But no, he's been at odds towards me. He doesn't fit my thesis for the type of person that I go after. You're only allowed to go after so many, like one or two people at a time max, because you'll if it's more than that, then everyone will come at you. And so he doesn't fit the type of person that I ever have or ever will go after. And so he's kind of always come at me, and I've never really understood that. And so like when the ground, Banana said something along the lines of like the ground was like less sturdy with Wes and Josh. It's really like
Mhm.
Josh is the one that's not on sturdy ground, not me. I'm fine with it. What they don't show, and it would be impossible, but it's how much of a friendship we've tried to strike up with each other over the years. And it's kind of like, even though he keeps coming at me, I keep kind of like accepting his apologies. And then we like have a text message relationship, an online relationship, and then we're hanging out a lot in the house. To get the man to a point where he's, I mean, not even tears, but weeping as he votes me in, then obviously he's crossing a moral and ethical line that he didn't need to find himself in. It meant that he had to lie through his teeth or change his mind or cross a friend. Like it's like one of those, or all of those. And I've personally never wept over crying for someone, because I go for people that I haven't told that I was going to like have their back until death, and that I was friends with, and all that kind of stuff. And there are indeed people that I target because they're good finalists, but I don't call them before the season starts and try and create a relationship and tell them I've got them and all that kind of stuff, and then cut them when I think it's time. That's ridiculous. And so
Mhm.
world has been put on notice that anyone that is better than Josh can no longer trust Josh, which means every male can no longer trust Josh, because he will turn on them as soon as he sees fit, because that's what he did. But again, it's hard to see the full story because you don't see like him and I's relationship building like
Mhm.
that. I'm not saying that I'd be like the best man in his wedding or anything, um, but for him to get to a point where he's weeping, then yeah, he's crossed a line that he put himself in, not me.
Mhm. And so we had one of these like text apology situations after that you've forgiven, or what's the status now?
Um, I there was he was with another challenger after the season that I was FaceTiming with, and he kind of hijacked the phone, and did what, and I kind of forget the details of it now, but he said something along the lines of, he made it sound like, I get it, I get why you're mad at me, but you'll come around. And it's like, Josh, I think you underestimate how many people are in my life that are successful, funny, great friends that don't cross me to the point of weeping. Like, I'm not desperate I don't say this, I just get off the phone, but I'm not desperate for friends or colleagues. And now that I'm retired, like, why do I even need to bite my tongue anymore? Like basically everyone that I've been protecting by not telling that me being a pundit is now going to be very vocal, because there's no repercussions for me now. Now I can just say who I think sucks or is boring, and so
There
watch
you
out.
go. So this rivalry, not a thing, as you said. Okay.
No, no. Well, call a spade a spade.
Not
It's
even a
not
rival.
it's not a rivalry, but I
Right.
definitely dislike him at this point. It's always been one of those like, he's, like just like this annoying little dog. But you just because a dog is annoying doesn't mean you put him down. You just kind of deal with it. You let him bite your ankles. You let him bark too much. You like deal with it because for whatever reason, it's just a little dog. Well, now I'm not dealing with the dog anymore. This dog is going to go have to live with somebody else. I've reached my wits end with this dog. It's not a rivalry. It's just okay, this dog is going to be put out to pasture.
Gotcha. You and these analogies kill me. I just can't. Like little dog. Okay. I mean, speaking of like you are free to speak your mind now, I suppose. You were in a lot of drama, I would say, especially with your previous elimination and to now. And it even got into the social media sphere. I'm sure you've seen all of it. Your wife even weighed in on it. And I want to know too, like, what were some of the things that you did take issue with in particular this season? Because I think that could maybe shine a light and make it a little bit more sense for other people who are wondering, like, Wes, what's going on here? Like, this is not your first season, so like, what's going on?
Yeah, so specifically who I was talking about in that one, whatever I said, I was specifically talking about, like, well, I guess generally speaking, the person that I'm about to name is more of the symptom because she's not the only one that treats me the way that I'm about to describe. But it was Desi, who is a fucking queen, like, and that's kind of where I was at. I came into that kind of as a little bit of friends with her. She chose me first. I loved her on season 1. My wife loved her on Survivor. And then she proceeded to basically like and she never once crossed the line, including her statement that kind of provoked either a tweet or Instagram post. I forget which one. It was the statement along the lines of Wes is just crying for sympathy or something like that. I forget the details. It's now been a month. And that statement is not that bad. Like, let's call that out. It is not that bad, especially in the realm of reality television on a scale of 1 to 10. That's like a 1.
Right.
It's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, where she would do something bad to me in the game, but nothing like egregious, just something bad. She would apologize. I'd take her back. She'd do something bad. She'd apologize. I'd take her back. And it was just constantly like lying to me one day, and then the next day doing whatever she wanted, then apologizing. And then that 3-day cycle repeated the entire time I was there. So she's kind of on thin ice in my head. And then I see this, and it's like, that's like a new realm of, okay, so now she's just kind of doing this cycle to me. And then she's going to also go into her interviews and say, I mean, it wasn't a kind statement, what she said.
Do you think it could have been taken out of context though, potentially just with the editing,
No, that's not a taken out of context thing. She said what she meant, which was she thinks that my retirement is some sort of a plea for sympathy, and to use that sympathy to garner some sort of traction in the game. And that's not true. I'm losing a part of my life that's been a part of my life for 20 years, and I'm sad about it. And part of the reason why she's here is because of my investment in the game. Because there wouldn't be a game if it wasn't for some of the people that have put 20 years towards this. And so it's a really disrespectful thing to say. But again, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 1. It's like not that bad. Like, she's not like a bad person because she did this. It's just like, again, on these scales to 1 to 10, it's like she'd do a 1 at me and I'd accept her back. And she'd do like a 2 and then a 1 and then a 1. So she's not like some mean, horrible person. It's just she drove me into the arms of more of like the Michaelas and the Chanels, who ended up more of my favorite people towards the end and more of my alliance towards the end. And then it just kind of sucked because meanwhile that she's apologizing all these times, she then is going in behind my back and saying stuff that is, again, a 1, but still not nice. And she apologized that morning in my DMs. And it was a half-assed apology. She knew that she's a great person. She knows when she does wrong. But like, I just like looked at it and I was like, this is like the sixth Desi apology. I'm like, how many apologies do I have to accept before I just stop letting people hit me with ones and twos? And so, I just was like, I ignored it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. And because I was wondering if there was anything else that we weren't necessarily privy to, because we only get to see so much on the show. So if there's anything else that on that front.
No, we saw an example of one of those ones or twos where she basically blindsided me to throw in Amanda. So to where she was going in, and then she ended up having me vote for Cassidy. And so it's just like me basically trusting her. And I basically voted for whoever it is that she wanted. That made me create a new enemy in Cassidy, which turned into an issue for me for the remainder of the game. Even though people are going to very much so want to give Josh credit for being the ball that voted me in, the reality is we don't know whose ball voted me in. It could have been Cassidy's, it could have been Chris's, or it could have been Josh's. The reason why Cassidy had my name in her mouth is because of Desi. And I got an apology for all that. And it's like, and that's an example of, she didn't need to lie to me there. I wasn't the one going in. It was Amanda. Amanda got 8 balls on her. It was like a record amount of balls. Like, she didn't need to, her and the team didn't need to lie to me about that. It wouldn't have changed anything. In fact, I was so much so like hiding behind the team that I would have highly contemplated voting for Amanda myself. And so that's an example. And now in the world of reality TV, is that move like on a scale of 1 to 10? What is that? It's like a 2. That's not bad. Like that doesn't make her a bad person. But it's still on the spectrum of bad. It's very, very light. It's just, there can be only so many slights before I'm like, I'm over it.
Right. And do you think maybe like you knowing that this is going to be your last season maybe kind of played into that a little bit, where like maybe these things hit harder for you because you knew that this was going to be your last rodeo?
Yeah, and also it's like I expected the Survivor players to be smarter, is what it boiled down to, because they play these like elevated games and all this kind of stuff, and they consider themselves these like masters of being able to play chess and not checkers. And meanwhile, like Desi just got off a season where she got basically disqualified from the finals because she was there with a man that couldn't compete, especially in the water. She's then doing this to the best swimmer, the best finalist, the best person that is available to potentially partner with at the end. And by the way, she eventually came around to this. None of this is shown, but like my main squad at the end was Desi, Chanel, and Michaela. This doesn't make it into the thing. Those were like my main squad at the very end. Notice how I don't get any balls from any of them in the episode that I leave in. It was just the people I was having problems with and Josh. And so she eventually came around to it, but it's like I'd been very, very maturely explaining this to those 3 in particular. I want to work with y'all. You guys are literally perfect for my game, and you guys should want to work with me too, because I'm the best finalist here and I've got a lot of experience, and I would love to bring my experience into this little group. And they eventually completely agreed with that. It's just, it took too long to get there because they came in with such like all the CBS people came in with such animosity towards the challengers that a guy like me who usually partners with rookies and new people, it was weird because I was just basically getting told that they didn't want to play with me at first.
Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe part of that though was like they knew that you guys you guys have so much experience too? Like I can imagine being like, well, he's won this so many times. I'm
not taking Desi, Chanel, or Michaela's money.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're in a different heat. Like
true.
They're and it doesn't have to be as straightforward as like all the challengers stick together, Survivor strong, and all this stuff. It doesn't. Elevated players will have a mixing and matching of different stuff to create the best team. And that's kind of how I play. And when I walked in, it wasn't like that. It's like they looked at themselves like they were a unit, and it was it was the move that they chose to do. And given how far along they are in the game, how I'm not even saying that it was the wrong move, because there's a lot. They started with a lot. Congratulations. But let's put it this way: if the roles were reversed and there was 6 of them and 8 of us, they would all be gone.
Right. Yeah. Did want to ask you one last question. You have been saying it's your last season. Is this really your last season here?
Yeah. My business is taken off. It's now it's too challenging to leave it. It's a scheduling thing. I'm very, very sad. Why it's hard for the fans and everybody to kind of wrap their head around it is because I'm not sitting here saying like I dislike it or I am not heavy or I'm not good at it anymore. And I'm obviously like in great shape and all this kind of stuff. So it's like there's not any like on paper reasons to not do it. But what they're not seeing is just how hard it is for a business owner of my size to leave for 2 months. And then again, some people should really, really astute, like business consultants should be saying, yeah, but a good business owner, uses SOPs and processes and employees and they can run. It's like, yeah, but there's a difference between going to a beach and working for 1 or 2 hours a day and keeping everything in line versus checking into prison with no phone or computer for 2 months. And that is just super irresponsible. There's so many people. There's more people that depend on me for their livelihood than there are entire challengers in the game. Right. So, and there's more money for me to lose than the entire prize pool combined every single season. So it's just, it's too irresponsible.
Mm-hmm. And add on top of that, you're going to be becoming a father soon. It's so exciting. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, considering everything going on in your life right now. And later on in this week, I'll be thinking of you and your wife. I'm so excited for you, even though I am disappointed that this means that this will be our last time seeing you on our screens because you've been one of my favorites to watch. Your strategy every season, I always just appreciate it.